Welcome. I'm happiness coach Teresa Greco, and this is the Steps to Happiness show. Here, my guests and I talk about the steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. Hello, and welcome to the Steps to Happiness show on 105.9 The Region. I'm your host, Teresa Greco, happiness coach, author, editor, writer, educator, and Reiki master. Are you ready to take the necessary steps towards true, unwavering inner happiness? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness. Because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we'll explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices, and together we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. Today's show is being brought to you by Chili Moose, premium coolers and drinkware. They have all your summer essentials. Chili Moose, adventure awaits. Stay tuned throughout the show today because there'll be giveaways you'll definitely want to take advantage of. The happiness principle for today's show is about loving and nurturing all aspects of ourselves to live happier and more fulfilling lives. There's our physical self as well as our mental, emotional, and spiritual self that all work together. However, when these parts of ourselves are not in complete alignment, then we get bogged down by our responsibilities and there are problems in our home and work relationships. This misalignment can show up as we start to feel the strain in the body. Physically, we feel less energy. We're not sleeping well. We experience dis-ease in the body, such as pain, discomfort, and inflammation. Emotionally, we feel stressed, fear and worry, agitation. We dislike ourselves and others. We have less patience. Mentally, we might find it hard to concentrate. Our brain feels foggy, and we're more prone to think about negative things. And spiritually or energetically, we feel blocked or stuck, where things are always a struggle and we feel like we're never getting ahead. These are all clues that we have strayed away from who we really are. Our true nature is love, peace, happiness, harmony, joy, and all the good feeling emotions. Who we really are is whole and perfect. There's nothing that needs to change about us. We don't need to be more than who we are, and we're not less than anyone else. With that being said, I'd like to welcome my first guest on the show. She's an online health and fitness coach, Rima Kamra. Hello, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about what you do?
So I own a company called Lady the F Up. We are an online coaching company, and what we do essentially is we help women get in shape. Whenever I say that, people think like, oh, so you help women get abs, but there's so much more to it. We work with women to help them with a physical transformation, but also hormonal imbalances that they may have, working on their digestion. A lot of the times there is mental and emotional trauma that women have gone through, it's not just that like you can't stop eating donuts or you can't stop eating chocolate. There's a lot more to it. So we help you overcome, a lot of mental and emotional trauma that you have gone through.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so in your experience, how does being unhappy on the inside? So I can imagine that women come to you and they are unhappy with what they look like on the outside, right? Because they're looking for that physical transformation. So they're feeling unhappy on the inside. And how does that then transfer to being unhappy with what they see on the outside? So I'm going to just relate to that in that when I was unhappy on the inside with myself, I only saw myself on the outside in a negative way. So I was harder on what I saw in the mirror because I was not loving myself on the inside, or I wasn't happy with myself on the inside. And therefore I didn't see maybe even really what I looked like on the outside. So in your experience, how does being unhappy on the inside translate to being unhappy with what you see on the outside?
It's a really good question. So I truly believe that the inside and the outside work together, right? If you are unhappy with what you see on the outside, that's going to translate to how you see yourself in the mirror. So if you're constantly looking at yourself in the mirror and you're saying, ew, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm disgusting, look at these stretch marks, look at these rolls, look at these dimples in my butt. These are things that women say to themselves all the time when they look at themselves in the mirror. And so that is going to translate into how you view yourself as a person. So I am unworthy, I am undeserving. You just have this negative perception of yourself, and you almost feel like you're a failure, like you're worth nothing. And I mean, they both go hand in hand.
I totally agree. So what do you think needs to be healed on the inside in order to really make progress in your program?
So I think that, a lot of women, they don't believe in themselves. You have failed so many times, like, especially with dieting, you failed so many times, you've tried a million different things. And so you don't believe in yourself. And I think my team of coaches do a really great job at beating into these women, over and over again, constantly telling them that you are worthy and you are deserving and you are beautiful no matter what. And just giving them that support and that reassurance so that they understand that they are capable of so much more, and that they have, everyone has strength inside of them, but sometimes it takes another person to pull it out in you. And once we pull that out, these women realize that they're just capable of so much more. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
And what I'm appreciating with what you're saying is that when we are speaking negatively to ourselves, that if anything, it's the negative self-talk that's so much worse than even what others might be saying to us on the outside, that we are really our worst enemy or our worst critic, that the negative self-talk that we carry around with us all the time, whether when we're trying something on, when we're putting a piece of food in our mouth, when we're looking at ourselves in the mirror, etc., that we've been carrying this story about ourselves that we believe to be true. And when you said that you really beat the positivity into the clients that you're working with, it is really a rewriting of the words that we've been telling ourselves, to change those words to positive ones instead, so that we are able to get to a point where we are, it's like positive affirmations. It's exactly that you might be giving those to your clients at first till it actually becomes part of what they say to themselves all the time.
Yeah, and it's reshaping your mind, right? Reshaping your mind so that eventually you can reshape your body. But, let's take, for example, a woman who has been in an abusive relationship for years and years and years. Okay, I was there. I know what that's like firsthand. And when you have somebody constantly beating you down and telling you that you're useless and you're going to amount to nothing, and you're disgusting and you're ugly, you have somebody constantly telling you these things, you are going to believe it, right? So this is why it's so important to fill your head with positivity and to surround yourself with people who are going to uplift you instead of bring you down and fill your mind with all of that negativity, because you eventually do believe it. And then you look at yourself and that's how you see yourself.
Absolutely. So if people wanted to get in touch with you after the show, how would you recommend they do that?
So you can find us on Instagram, on Facebook. Our company is Lady the F Up. You can find me on social media, Coach_Rima Kamra.
And can you just say the name of your company again? I just love it.
It's Lady the F Up. Here, I'll show you.
So tell me maybe a little bit how you came up with that word or that slogan.
So you know how like people always say, man the F up, like, you know, people are always saying these things to each other, like, man the F up, you need to like, you know, be stronger. And so we came up with Lady the F up. My brother actually came up with it, and it just was a slogan on a t-shirt that we were selling, and women loved it. They were like, oh my God, I want that shirt. I would see them at the grocery store. And they're like, where did you get that? I love it. And then so we decided to make it a coaching company for women. And you know what we do is we help empower other women. That's essentially what we do, is empower other women, and it's so important to us.
And I think you wanted to offer a few lucky listeners some swag, actually.
Yes. So we're going to offer a few listeners some Lady the F Up merchandise. So that's going to include a few shirts, and then as well as a shaker cup to a few lucky ladies.
Yes, so they'll be able to actually wear this amazing t-shirt and wear that slogan, you know, on the shirt. So thank you so much for doing that. So if you would like to take advantage of that giveaway, please come to my Instagram page, which is at Teresa Greco _steps to happiness. You will see the giveaway post there and all the details to how to take advantage of that. Rima, thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing with us your insight about how we must work on all aspects of ourselves in order to see long-lasting positive results, that no part of ourselves can be worked on in isolation, that they are all important, our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, that when we work on ourselves, you know, in totality, that we are able to see really the long-lasting results that we're looking for.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Stay tuned after the break. I'll be speaking with Peter Dennis, channeling facilitator and certified consulting hypnotist. We will continue here on 105.9 The Region, and you're listening to the Steps to Happiness show with Teresa Greco. Welcome back to the Steps to Happiness show with Teresa Greco. Stay tuned until the end of the show today, because we have even more giveaways you'll want to definitely take advantage of. I'm excited to introduce my next guest, Peter Dennis, channeling facilitator, author, speaker, and certified consulting hypnotist. Peter, thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you, Teresa, for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, what led you to hypnosis and what you're doing today.
Yeah, thank you. I've had a background in both business and education. But for about 35 to 40 years, I worked in industry. I was a human resources professional, and I worked for companies that you've heard of, and probably a few you haven't, KPMG and Pillsbury among them. I guess when I retired in 2008, I became a hypnotist. And the reason was simply that as an HR professional, I used to do a lot of training. And it always occurred to me that if you could somehow unleash the unconscious mind towards achieving training outcomes, you'd really be unleashing something rather powerful. And so I took a course in hypnosis, became certified, and started doing it. Started with some of the usual stuff, weight loss, smoking cessation, past life regressions, things like that. And then in July of 2018, one of my clients began to channel. Now, I knew a little about channeling, and so I wasn't totally caught off guard, but I was surprised. And from then until about December or so of that year, I had 4 others. So around that period, having had many conversations with the beings that they channeled, I wrote a book on it. Trying to capture and these were all women, so trying to capture some of their feelings about their anxieties about doing it, some of the hesitations they had. Anyway, the book came out, and lo and behold, for the last 2.5 years, pretty much, I've been working with, I think the date it's 39 individuals all of whom are channelers. 6 of them were channeling before they met me, but the others, I helped them to make a connection with a being from off the planet. I helped them to strengthen that with practice sessions. And if they choose to take it to the public, then I help them with that. So that's where I am today. I'm known as a channeling facilitator. I'm not a channeler. And you can see on my website a little more about what a facilitator does and what channeling is all about.
So how is channeling different than a medium where, we go to a medium to connect with our loved ones and to know more about our future? How is channeling a little bit different?
Yes, they're very similar in many ways, but a medium goes in between, or is the medium between someone who has passed over, usually a human who has died, a relative or friend, and they come back with messages. They'll say, Uncle Charlie is saying, and they say what it is. A channeler is more direct. A channeler tunes in to, say, someone from the Palladian civilization or the Andromedans or any number of them. And those individuals speak directly. So you hear what the Palladian is saying, where with a medium, you don't hear what the person who has died is saying. You hear the medium tell you what they are saying. So that's the essential difference. But in both cases, they're opened up. And a number of the people who are channeling with me have been mediums. And they've just taken it to what you might say is really kind of a higher level. And certainly it's expanded anyway.
So I wanted to just talk to you a little bit more, since you are a certified consulting hypnotist, about the benefits of hypnotherapy. And hypnotherapy was something that I also used along my path towards happiness, that there were some blocks, some like trauma that I also had forgotten because it happened, little moments in time that happened throughout the living of my life that was really impeding the love for myself, that I wasn't loving myself and therefore wasn't allowing the love in from others as well. And so hypnotherapy was really one of those therapies that I utilized. And so in your experience, how can hypnotherapy help with happiness and living happier lives?
Teresa, I guess it's fair to say that most of us have lived many, many lives, thousands, tens of thousands probably. And through the course of that, we've picked up quite a bit of baggage. And in our current life, we're not aware of most of it. And so it's buried and it's holding us down. Hypnotherapy has 2 primary approaches. The first is to go back in time and find, either in this lifetime or in others, some of those events that are causing the blockages, the baggage, the stuff that we're carrying around, and release it. Now that works some of the time, and when it does, it's extremely effective. There's many examples of it. I guess if it doesn't work, it's possibly because your unconscious mind has buried it in the first place because it's just too shocking to hear about it. And it may continue to do that and say, no, we're not revealing it at this time. The other approach in hypnotherapy is to lay in suggestions. If somebody wants to quit smoking, for example, you can suggest that they just love being smoke-free and they have all kinds of motivation for it. And you repeat and repeat, why it is they want to quit and why they'll feel so much better when they do, and on and on. And you kind of brainwash them a little bit with the new idea, and they come to embrace it. And if they're highly motivated, they'll embrace it very easily. So those are the 2 approaches. And sometimes the first one can get at things that conventional psychology cannot get at. And it's almost miraculous. If we have more time, I could cite some examples, but I think we probably have pretty limited time here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so, so I just have one more question about maybe some of the messages that you've noticed that the channelers have to share with us.
There are so many. I must have listened to somewhere between 300 and 400 recorded conversations that I've had with these different beings. Well, they are, the main one is that we're starting to wake up. We're starting to wake up to who we really are and to what has been going on around us. We have been lied to a great amount. Now, people will dismiss that idea as a conspiracy theory, and they don't realize that a theory is a proven hypothesis or a generally accepted one. But I guess it's time that we start to take back our power and we don't get herded around just because the media or others are telling us to. There is a lot of disarray out there. World leaders, government heads are in a panic mode. They're not showing it that much. The mainstream media is perpetuating things that just simply aren't true. And we're starting to wake up. The messages over and above all, I guess, really are of love, of empowerment, of healing. It's all really good, positive stuff. Now, I just sounded a little negative, but the positive of that is that we're waking up to it. We're starting to take back our power. We're starting to think for ourselves. We're starting to just weigh through the distortions and figure out what is true. Those are the main things. I think that they are telling us in various ways. You know, we could get into the physics that demonstrate that everything and everyone vibrates, is made up of vibrating energy. And that as we engage in thoughts and activities that are more uplifting, we're raising our vibration. And as we do that, we're also increasing our consciousness or our range of awareness. And in so doing, we're getting to that point where we're about to graduate from the reality that we're in now and move into this fourth and fifth dimensions of consciousness, where life is going to be a lot easier. So it's a message of hope as well. Life will be easier. We're going through the stage of kind of breaking eggs to make omelet, you might say. You know, it's a rough time right now. There's, you know, a number of sort of physical I would say, things that are happening on the planet, volcanoes erupting, flooding, fires, you know, Australia, Nova Scotia even, and Texas and Florida. There's a number of things that are happening. There's going to be a few more of them before we break out of this transition and wake up to what we really are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that I like that aspect of hope, right? That especially with what we're all going through with the pandemic, and it is nice to know that what we are going through, that there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And I do think that we are opening up to all aspects of ourselves. And that was really the happiness principle for today's show, was understanding that there are 4 different aspects of ourselves. There's our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and that we are awakening to that inner magic, that I like to call it, that intuition, that gut feeling, that energy within us that gives life to who we are. And I really feel like it is a time that we are starting to really unite all aspects of ourselves. And so that message of hope, I think, is amazing. So if somebody wants to be able to connect with you to hear more or learn more about those messages of hope, where can they connect with you?
My website does feature a number of the channelers who have taken it to the public. Many of their recordings are there as well. So that's www.peterhdennis.com. Or they can phone me, 905-771-1543. And my email is peter@peterhdennis.com.
And then you have a YouTube channel as well that features some of these channelers. Why don't you tell them what
Yeah,
that's called?
yeah, there's a lot of them. Don't ask me to quote the URL for that, but yeah, I guess you can go on YouTube and look for Peter Dennis. You'll probably find them. Peter
Perfect.
Dennis channeling, maybe.
And so you would also like to offer all the listeners today a special gift. What is that?
Well, I wrote a book on spirituality, which is really kind of a primer for some people who are starting to go down a spiritual path, you might say, but it's also a pretty good reference book for those that have, or a refresher, you might say, for those that have been there. So yeah, anybody sends me an email, I'll send them a book.
Awesome.
It'll be an ebook.
And so I've also posted this giveaway opportunity on my Instagram page, which is at Teresa Greco _steps to happiness. And there will be a giveaway post there with all the details underneath and how you can also connect with Peter to take advantage of that book. And so, Peter, thank you so much for being on the show today. Chili Moose Premium Coolers and Drinkware, our sponsor for today's show, also wanted to offer one lucky listener their Big Pine Canteen, a 64-ounce insulated stainless steel growler, ideal for keeping drinks cold or hot. To qualify for this opportunity as well, visit my Instagram page at Teresa Greco _steps to happiness and look for the giveaway post for details. I'm going to leave you with the thought for today. Today's show was about recognizing all the aspects of ourselves and nurturing and loving all those aspects to help us to lead happier and healthier lives. Our true nature is happiness, love, peace, and joy. It is when we fall out of sync with who we really are, is when we start to see the lack of flow in our lives and within our bodies. Connecting with our inner magic, our spirit, is a quick way to get back into alignment with ourselves by taking the time to practice the self-love and self-care activities that help us to reconnect with our essential nature. Thank you for joining me on the show today, and I look forward to being with you again next Saturday.
Interested in happiness and spiritual coaching and workshops? Go to teresagreco.ca. Email stepstotruehappiness@gmail.com. Follow on Instagram, Teresa Greco _steps to happiness, or on Facebook at Steps to True Happiness with Teresa Greco. This is the Steps to Happiness Show on 105.9 The Region.